So Lauree, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me this morning. Thank you for bearing with all of our ups and downs here. Okay. I would love, first and foremost, for everyone to know a little bit more about you, for those who don't know you. So tell us your story and how you got to be where you are, if you would.
Sure. The short version. So I'm a coach and an author with 2 books. They're over here. 2 books and speaker, and I'm also the founder of Hudson Valley Women in Business, an organization of 3,000 women business owners in the Hudson Valley, north of New York City. My background's in marketing and media relations, and I think one of the things I love about you, Mary, is that I think that we have very similar views of life and why we're here, because sometimes life happens to you. And I think you and I both have extreme examples of that, and use them and decided almost immediately that we were going to make the best of a unthinkable situation. And that's really why I'm here, why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I'm a fairly shy introvert who never imagined herself in front of it, even doing this, let alone in front of a room, like I am pretty regularly. And it was because when I was 28, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And, up until that point, I had been a very people-pleasing A student, doing everything that made my parents and teachers and employers happy. And then something really big happened, this brain tumor that said, even when you do all the right things, something can happen. And so what do you really want to be doing? And so I just reinvented kind of from that moment. And so my coaching business is really built around that. It's called Simply Leap, and it's about being more intentional about finding meaningful work in our careers. I tend to work with folks who are mid-career and saying like, okay, I could keep doing this, but what is actually more meaningful for me? Making those meaningful choices. And a good number of them are about leaping into a new business or growing the business they've already developed. So that's been really fun too.
Yeah, it's such an inspiring story, and it is amazing how I talk about how like life smacked me upside the head, right? It's just like this is not a dress rehearsal. Whether or not you come back again in another lifetime, whatever your framework is there, like right now, this is your time to do this thing.
Yeah.
And it's shocking when that happens, I think, so suddenly, right? It's like all of a sudden you're going along one day and then the next day, everything is different.
What I always say it like the path I thought I was on took a turn that I couldn't have imagined. And we don't have control over those turns sometimes, but we have control over, and you were just posting about this recently, we have control over what we do about those turns.
Right.
What we tell ourselves, what we think about it, the people we surround ourselves with, and absolutely, Jonathan, and how and the choices we make out of that turn. And I think that you and I both, our work is really centered around that, the choices that you can make regardless of where you are. Because I think most of us spend our time thinking that we have control over things we don't.
Yeah, that's true. That was true for me, for sure.
And then life happens and you're like, oh, this is what I really have control over, this kind of limited view, which is, but it is also really, really powerful.
Yeah. It's such an interesting perspective to gain. I talk about looking over the edge of the abyss, right? Like you can make the choice to go, oh, I'm going to just go right down that abyss. And like, I'm going to have my existential crisis and I'm going to, or I can make a choice to step back and make have a different experience in my life. And it sounds like when you talk about that, you and I both have skills around telling those stories, right? We figured it out how to do that and how we can present it in a way like a form like this.
Right. Right. The pity party, though. I mean, that's the way I put it. It's like, take your time in the pity party, take your time feeling everything. Like, don't go straight to action without really feeling where you are. That's so important.
That's a great connection to the next thing I was just going to ask you, because we had connected a couple days ago about all the things that are happening in our country, in the US this week, certainly in DC and other capitals around the country.
Yeah.
And it's been a little cuckoo bananas. It's been cuckoo bananas for a while. And things keep happening that is like, what? Like we just wouldn't anticipate any of this. So what are you seeing in the members of Hudson Valley Women in Business, in your clients? How are they responding to this craziness?
Well, I have some clients in DC. So I lived in DC for 5 years before moving back to the Hudson Valley. And so I had some clients who I checked in with, and they needed some time, exactly what we were saying. Like, you need time to feel your feelings. And so we've created time before we're going to speak again or checked in with one another. I've had other clients that are saying, like, being busy is easier for me. And I have to say, personally, I got up the next morning after watching TV relentlessly for most of that day, and washed my dishes. And, I had this big pile of dishes that I was like, later. I'm like, today, right now, this is the thing I'm going to do. I'm going to focus right here on this. And I often clean my bathroom in moments like this. Again, you need something finite. You need something small enough where you can say it's done. And I don't know, most of my clients and most of the women in my business community have bigger things that are amorphous, that always have another to do after it. They aren't very finite. And so dishes, cleaning your bathroom, folding laundry, like these are things that kind of bring us back to presence. And obviously meditation and taking a walk and taking a breath, all of those are good things. But I would say, we have a good number of feelers in our community. I would say there's a good number of us who are introverts and probably sensitive and empaths. And I think we're feeling things on a lot of levels, and potentially parenting and all of the other things that are going on in our lives. And so being with all those feelings, I think that's really what I'm hearing. How about you?
Yeah, I would say I also have a client in DC who, he worked in the Pentagon for a few years. And so he was very much he has a client who is going to be on the transition team for Biden. So he's like very connected to all that's going on down there. And I'm just going to show the comments that are coming up here from Cecile. She is so grounding for sure. Jonathan also did the dishes. So a lot of us are feeling this need.
Yep, they're yelling.
Small, attainable goals, right? And that's really a mindfulness practice, essentially, is bringing it back to the present moment and being like, okay, I can't control everything out here, and what these people's choices are going to affect me directly or indirectly. But my choice right now is to take care of myself in this moment. Yeah.
I want to say that there's like this distinction between like hiding or avoiding or, that kind of thing, and becoming present and kind of solidifying yourself before you make choices. I think that those are two really different things. There are, hiding away and I'm not going to look at the news is different. And I actually wouldn't recommend it to, I'm going to look at the news for 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go wash the dishes. I'm going to come back and I'm going to think about, how does this apply to my customers and clients? How does this apply to the people in my life? What do I want coming out of this? Like what am I hoping for? What am I moving for? I mean, those are very choiceful things that we can do as opposed to fully avoiding. And I just, that distinction to me seems really important, especially in a big moment.
I would agree with that. I think that sometimes when I post those my little essays about choice and about the power, I do get some pushback. I'm like, what do you mean? I have feelings about this, and it's reality, right? And I could go a whole day about talking about what reality is.
But, we know it firsthand.
Yeah, right. So I'm all about we know what reality is, right? The Stockdale paradox is essentially that very thing, was looking what's in front of you and acknowledging what's in front of you and dealing with what's in front of you and all the ugliness and all the craziness and whatever it is, all the beauty of what's in front of you. And also then making choices to make it better, creating new opportunities, understanding what's possible from this reality. And the reality is that our reality is different than other people's. So my experience of my reality is going to be different than, even in this, if it's the same event, even if it's the same event, right? There are people who feel very justified about what happened this week. The people feel like they did the right thing. People that feel like they were empowered by what happened this week. And there are other people who are completely heartbroken and disenfranchised and completely lost their own enchantment with America and the process and democracy, right? And then there are people going, okay, so this is a mess. How do we clean it up? How do we make it better?
Right.
And different variations of that. So when we're talking about our experience of reality, it's not that we're ignoring, like you said, we're not avoiding the reality of it. What we're doing is understanding our experience of it and then making conscious choices of how to move forward based on that experience, right? Our process of that. Yeah.
Right. And as in the service, I mean, we have service businesses as coaches and consultants. We have to do that for ourselves. And sometimes we lead our clients in that. Or at least we have to, as business owners, we have to think about where our customers on that line of what we described. Even if we don't necessarily name it for them, I mean, it depends on our businesses, whether we do, we have to consciously think about that when we market it to them, when we post on social media, when we reach out to them. Where are they right now? Do I know where they are? Can I guess where they are? Does it make sense for me to check in and see where they are? I mean, I had some clients where I said, are you up for talking today? And if not, we're going to change our schedule. And then I had other folks who were like, didn't really want the check-in, wanted to keep moving. And I need to respect that.
Yeah, we all deal with it in different ways. Yeah, for sure. Well, so this lends itself to the conversation about leaping, because, right, looking at the mess and then making new choices. So what are some of the leaps that your clients are making? And even if you can't get specific, sort of generally what's happening
there.
We
have a few new podcasts. Podcasts seem to be the thing that folks are launching. And I think that's really talking about actually the cycle that we've been in the pandemic, where people have needed to have time in different moments in time where they'd had to do exactly what we described, the check-in, where am I, what am I feeling, and then what do I do about it? And I think I think the winter is providing us another opportunity for that. Okay, I'm going less places now. I'm definitely going less places now because the pandemic added to it. What am I going to do about that? And I would say podcasts are a big one. I got a number of launching businesses right now.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, which is really exciting. I mean, I think it speaks a lot to positivity, the belief, new year, that there's, a lot of change, new administration, there's, a lot of newness in the air that's happening, and the belief that the vaccine, the belief that, things are going to change this year and I want to take advantage of it, renewed energy that we usually have in the new year. But I think I feel it more this year, and I'm seeing it in my clients for sure.
Yeah. And I don't know if you all can hear, my son is at school, and I don't know if you can kind of hear the background noise, but he's like chatting to his teacher back there. So this is what we're living in right now, right? I've actually had several clients who have met my children the last few months because I've had them come in and be like, hey, so-and-so. So it's really the redefinition of how we do this.
Actually, I think I want to speak to that, because when you said how are people leaping, and I mentioned podcasts, I think the undertone of that is they are being more themselves than ever before.
Yes.
So career-wise, our professional and personal lives merged. And in a way that we could not control. You and I talk about that. We could not control that your son's right there talking to his teacher. Okay, what are we going to do about it, right? Like, we're going to lament it. We're going to grieve it. We're going to feel all our feelings. And then we're going to do something about it. And And what I'm seeing is there's a number of people that I'm seeing over and over just saying like, okay, now that I'm more fully myself and I have to be because of the reality of here, what do I want to share with people? Now, and I think less and less compartmentalizing is happening because we're kind of forced into it. I think women compartmentalize less anyway, but I think we're, kind of forced to it even more now. And I'm seeing what the leaps are more genuinely themselves. That their careers and their professional lives are more themselves. Their businesses are more themselves than ever before.
Well, that's really poignant too, because I mean, essentially leaping, and I have a couple of comments here from Jonathan, who is a lot of new solutions to our new problems. Absolutely. Necessity is the mother of invention, right? For sure. A lot of innovation happening now. And then he says, the realness is so, it is really, it's a way to kind of just relax, right?
Yeah.
We can be more ourselves.
More connected to people, authentic. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the question that you asked yourself when you are making your leap is, what do I really want to do? That's a question really about authenticity. And we hear this word bantered around a lot. Essentially, though, that's the essence of who am I really in this world, and what do I want to contribute, and how do I want to spend my time? Because I've just gotten this message that I only have a finite amount of time, however long that is. Yeah. Right. That's really a message of authenticity. So it sounds like that's the leaping is connecting to that for your client.
Yeah. And I would say, like, so people ask me about the term simply leap. There's a reason why the simply is in the front, because it's not simple.
Right.
But what gets simplified in it is we face what's really frightening us. Because the thing that's holding us back from doing the thing we already knew we wanted, because I asked myself that question and I already knew the answer of things that I wanted to do.
Right.
I just wouldn't ever let myself consider that I could do those things because they were too scary, because I might upset someone, I might disappoint someone who was important to me, I might get it wrong, I might fail, and those just weren't possibilities in the world where I thought I could control everything.
Right, sure.
I had something big enough happen, like a brain tumor, that said, hey, hon, you don't control anything anyway. The things that I thought were scary, like going to applying to art school, or changing my relationship, or moving and traveling to places I'd never gone before. Like once getting up on stage, gosh, that was a big one. Once I had faced something big enough and scary enough, it put other things that were scary into perspective. And then I feel like that had to go along with, what do I really want to do? Because I think enough of us ask that question, but then don't answer it because of the fear that's kind of underneath. Once I answer it or say it out loud, I'm going to have to do it. And it's too scary to ponder that. Yeah,
it is. And that's where support comes in, right? Someone like you comes in and says, let me help you make this plan. Let's build a ladder to the moon that you want to go shoot for, right?
Yeah.
I'm having Maria is offering a comment here. Yes. The question of who I am, right? Yeah. Maria is another amazing coach, and she's going to be joining me next week. So it'll be fun too. And Cecile. Oh, you're so sweet. I love that.
Wow. I have never been called a childhood anime character, but I am so psyched.
That's an honor. Thank you, Cecile. That's fantastic. I love that. Great. Okay. So let's talk about specific. I mean, we talked a little bit about tactics, right? About laundry, dishes, that kind of thing. What are if you could leave one kind of golden nugget message or some sort of practical application gift for our audience, what would that be for you today?
Well, the thing, I kind of already said it before, but it's the thing I repeat the most in conversations with people and speeches that I give, which is to focus on what we really have control over. I don't think most of us go through our days going, I have control over everything, or I don't have control over everything, but it is an undercurrent. And so no matter what's happening, you always have control of, and you always have a choice around how you feel about something,
Mm-hmm.
how you think about it, the words you use, and your words are really, really powerful.
Yeah. We've seen that this
You
week
hear
too.
them, and everybody else hears them, and then
Yeah.
they start reflecting the same words back to you. That is really, really powerful. So you have control over how you feel, how you think, what you say, who you surround yourself with, and what they reflect back to you. So notice what's getting reflected back to you and choose people who are reflecting the same words that you're putting out there, what you want to be generating more of. And then you have control of the actions that you take. Yes, washing dishes, but also making that phone call, having that difficult conversation. Those are the choices that we have, and anything else like what people think, what people are going to say, if people are going to buy or not, when they're going to buy, like if the thing that you're launching is going to work. You have control of some elements, but you really don't have control of the outcome of that.
Right.
And so it always, to me, is about narrowing down to, okay, these are the things that I put on my to-do list. These are the things that I actually concern myself with.
Yeah. Yeah. In that, I'm hearing too, is being willing to let it get a little messy and learning from that and being okay with learning from that. If people are going to say things that are hurtful or judgmental, then that's on them, really. It's not. And that's such a hard thing to internalize, because it can feel very personal when someone says something that's judgmental, or what do you think you're doing? Or why would you make that change?
Yeah. I do not call my mom first anymore. I do not talk to the people I know are going to have an opinion until I'm ready for their opinion.
Yes, right. And that is self-management. That's another version of self-care, is like taking care of your space, taking care of what's coming at you all the time.
Yeah.
Understanding, like you said, understanding what words you're putting out in the world, and then hearing what comes back to you. You have control over where you put yourself, I guess, and who you put yourself in front of. Yeah.
Right. But what happens with that is kind of open. I wanted to say something a client had told me recently, something that she's been repeating to herself after our conversations, which is when something, when she's not getting response on an email, or she's not sure if a new job prospect is really going to come through, she tells herself another door is opening. Where is that door? And keeps looking for that. And that too is a choice. That too is within our purview when stuff is happening. That is the mindset that we're choosing when it's not, as you said, when it's messy, when it's not clear yet the direction we're supposed to go in. What's the door that is opening? Or how can I encourage another door to open, as opposed to fixating on this one that I thought was supposed to open? Where are the other ones? Let me focus there.
When looking at the mess of integrating personal and professional life, right, as we're working from home and doing these kinds of, my kids over here, and the kitchen, I have a joke with my husband now, because he likes to make protein shakes. And it's usually like right in the moment where I'm speaking to somebody else on the video. I was like, oh, look, there's a protein shake. But it's all a little bit of a mess, and that's okay. And so that embracing that we're going to continue to learn. We're going to continue to get it better. Every time I do these lives, I get a little better at the technical aspects, and there's things that get thrown in that don't always work. And that's okay, because we're going to continue to get better and learn and find the essence of what is good to share.
Yeah. And you are modeling so much in how you handle the messy stuff. You're modeling for your family, you're modeling for your clients, you're modeling for your friends and colleagues. Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't always work. It doesn't work the way we planned, but how do I handle it? Do I handle it with professionalism? Do I handle it with some lightheartedness? And that speaks a lot to, one, it communicates who you are and who your brand is, and who you want, how you want to be seen in the world. It also really models for other people how that can be. So maybe they're a little kinder to themselves too.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I mean, you and I both know that's a skill that we develop over time, and going through some of the mess in a not so graceful way. Right.
Right. Like when the camera's off and like,
well, and also just like learning to, there's kind of a muscle that you build, right? That we build when we're going through messy stuff. It's like, well, the first 100 times I went through a mess, it was like, I was not so smooth, not so graceful. And so, but eventually, right, we decide, do we want to continue that way, or do we want to learn to kind of handle a different way? How do we want to show up the next time there's a mess? Because there will always be one.
Yeah. I want to say something about that. That is so great that you brought that up, because people think, especially other introverts, they come to me all the time like, oh my gosh, how are you in front of the room? And I have to talk about, like, the first speech that I gave was to 450 people. And I practiced. It was a 5-minute speech, or I'm sorry, it was a 10-minute speech. And I practiced for about 4 straight hours in my pajamas and my heels in my home, because I wanted to, like, the foot, like your feet was really important to me, but like I needed as much comfort as I could. So the pajamas were happening. But I was almost hoarse before I went to the speech. And the reason was because I was thinking about how, like, firefighters are trained, and that they're trained in fire to the point where it's just a muscle memory once you're actually doing this. So I'm not natural doing this, doing even the conversation that you and I are having. It's because I've practiced enough at home in my pajamas to where if I freak out, because I'm gonna freak out in front of people, I will be able to keep talking while I'm internally freaking out. And so I just want to be clear, you know, like, anyone watching this, like, oh, they have it together, totally haven't figured out. No, it's like practice to the point where you can do it regardless of how you're going to feel, and knowing that you're going to feel that way, and giving yourself the space to freak out in the moment, as opposed to saying, I better get it right. No, I'm probably going to freak out. What do I need to do in the moment when I'm going to freak out? How can I prepare now to be okay with that?
Yeah, that's a really important process that you just laid out. I actually sent in my newsletter this week a little bit about that. You know, the first thing when we have something happen like this, whether we're preparing for it, or whether we're doing it kind of on the fly when something is coming at us that we haven't prepared ahead of time, is one thing is check in with ourselves. Where am I right now? Right. Or if we're preparing for it, where do I know I'm going to be? Right. And then accept that it just is, right? I feel terrible right now. I know I'm going to freak out. I know it's going to be a mess. So we're going to accept it. We're not going to run from it. We're not going to beat ourselves about it anymore. It just is. And then the next thing is, what am I going to do about it? Right. So check in, accept, and then take action.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm going to open a little bit more of these comments here. Let's see. Maria says she's looking forward. I'm also looking forward, Maria. And another door is opening. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great. Look at her. Her picture is so amazing, by the way. Isn't she just such a glamour queen? Look at her. Just amazing. So inspiring. Okay. Cecile says, you need to hear your own voice first. And sometimes when people say too much, your message can get drowned out by that noise. Yeah, for sure. So checking in with yourself and listening to that first before anything else. Yep. And Maria's asking, how do you feel right now, Lauree?
Oh, thanks, Maria. That's a very coachy question. So thank you.
Yeah,
I feel, I actually feel pretty good. I feel really good about the year. I feel excited about all of the meetings and conversations that I'm having right now, including this one. And I feel a little worried about what's happening in DC, and I feel worried about what is maybe required of me doing uncomfortable things, like talking about things I'm not comfortable about, that I'm getting practice in right now. So I think there's that along with the excitement of what's to come for my work and for my clients.
Awesome. And yes, Jonathan says, are her photos amazing? They are. And then Cecile has one more comment here. I'm so stunning for streamer after this. Yay! Yay! And like I said, it could be a mess, but that's okay. We're gonna keep going. Wonderful. Well, it is about 10:30, and I don't want to keep you too long, but how do people reach you, Lauree? If we can talk about maybe both you and Hudson Valley Women in Business, if they're interested in both those things.
Sure. So for Hudson Valley Women in Business, we have on Monday, just a couple days away, we have our kickoff meeting of the year, and I'm actually leading that one. We normally have speakers, but I'll be kicking off the new year with everyone. And you can sign up through our website, hvwib.com or hudsonvalleywomeninbusiness.com /events. And my coaching business is simplyleap.com. You can also reach it through my first and last name.com either way. And my books are there, and I'm on Instagram as Lauree Ostrofsky, and Facebook, you can find me through Simply Leap. It's all over the place, but you can find us there.
Well, and I've tagged you through all of these, the various channels that we've posted this or will post this on. I'll post it also on LinkedIn later when we get it all edited up, and I'll share it in my newsletter. So any of you who follow me can also find her through me, because she's an amazing coach as well. We do things a little bit, have different focuses in our work, and we're happy to collaborate and refer to each other. So it's all about elevating the energy of the world one client at a time.
Right. That's right. We don't have to reinvent something. We don't have to invent it ourselves. We have great collaborators like you. Absolutely. And like Maria.
Yeah, like Maria. Yep. And she has one more. Oh, there you go. All this love. We got all this good love going around.
I know. This is the great thing about women doing business differently. Let's spread, there's more business for all of us. There's more opportunities for all of us.
100%. There is no scarcity. 100%. Yep. There's plenty for everybody. Yeah. That's awesome. Note to end with. And I also just want to briefly shout out to Cecile, who asked me to mention that if anybody is struggling to gain access to the vaccine, Cecile has an amazing concierge business and a styling business. She also used to be is a registered nurse, used to also work in the field. And she asked me to mention to our audience here today that if anybody who's eligible for the vaccine is having trouble accessing it, that she can help. So you can connect with her at Cecile at CastilianLifestyle.com. I think that was right, Cecile. Why don't you go ahead, Cecile, and put it in the comments where they can contact you about that? Since she's talking about abundance mindset too. And Jonathan, what are you saying now? When good people? Yes, absolutely. Teamwork, yay! Rainbows and unicorns. No, but for real though, right? I mean,
it's just like,
hey, it has a rainbow on it under. You can see, yeah, there you go.
Oh, very nice.
I mean, and we joke about this, but you and I both know that stuff can get real fast, and we have both made a choice, as have so many of our clients and colleagues, to focus on what we can do well in the world and the good we can do in the world. So I'm going to put up that comment from Cecile so that if anybody needs access to the vaccine, they're having trouble, please reach out to her. And I know she's happy to help you.
Thank you.
Last thoughts, Lauree?
Oh, I'm just so grateful. Thank you so much for all that you do and all that you provide to the greater community and to your clients. I'm just glad that we've been able to connect in this way.
I am too. And thank you too. So I had a goal that I set with my business coach earlier in the week. And that was at the beginning of the week, I said, I'm going to fill up 6 weeks of awesome guests on my live. And now and Laura was the first one to respond. I was like, I'm going to do this. And she's like, if you need anybody, I was like, absolutely. It's just the perfect person to do this and start out the new year with this. So thank you so much for jumping on that. And I have now actually booked out I'm going into April now. So a lot of great energy. So I'm very grateful for you for coming this morning. Thank you for bearing with the ups and downs of StreamYard. And I hope you'll come back and join us again and share more of your brilliance and your gorgeous wisdom and your wonderful energy.
Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody. And if you are looking for the replay, I'm going to post that up in a little bit. Thanks.